morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Yours truly, Nancy Oswald-Jackson here with my pal Shannon. And no, we did not coordinate outfits this morning.
But I
just
swear,
happens.
we have a Vulcan mind meld. I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm wearing black and white, and I'm going to guarantee you that Nancy's going to come in wearing black and white, and that's exactly what happened.
We do, and often Doreen has the same.
Yes.
I didn't notice what she had on this morning.
I don't think she had on
black and white, but we tend to, even like pink and purple, like things that are out of the norm. So. It's we're just on the same wavelength, baby.
Vulcan mind.
But we're going to get into in the news here. But I just want to ask some viewers to write in over the next week with some suggestions for what we could be for Halloween, because this is a tradition here on Autism Live with and Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, beginning several years ago when we did Lucy and Ethel, and everybody loved it and said, we want you guys to do this every year, and we have had such fun with it, not without its stress, and especially Shannon, because year one I kind of really did Lucy big time.
Nancy does this with it's serious business.
I wanted to be an actress, and this is the next best
She does
thing.
it serious business, and you have to bring your A game, or you get left in the dust.
But Shannon has really, I thought she outdid me when we were the queens, although I did think I was a good cute Queen Elizabeth I. You were so amazing as the current queen. But
I think I was just funny, and that's the thing.
Well, you were very funny, but
But your costume was worlds better than mine. Come on.
Okay, so anyway, I have an admission. We were going to be Donald and Hillary, and we were both watching the debate the other night, and Shannon texts me, I don't guess which one she was going to be, and guess who I was going to be, and I was relishing, I was studying her, and also studying Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
And Shannon texts me, I don't think I can be Donald Trump. And I wrote her back, I totally get that. I would not want to be him either in any shape or form.
I just don't. And so many people are doing it, and I just feel like we're inundated with it, and we just don't need any more.
And let's face it, Alec Baldwin and what's her name?
The quintessential Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon have it down. So,
and we just don't, we need a break from that.
We need a break. So if you have any ideas, we have a couple of things in our back pocket that we've discussed before.
But we'll take
ideas because last night Shannon said, well, maybe we should be the two dames, Dame Helen Mirren and Dame Judi Dench, but that doesn't even involve a costume.
We don't have to wear a costume.
I think we
just have to put
exactly
accents
like them
on.
right now.
We have to put costumes on.
Okay.
But in any case, so let us know about that. We want to tell you that we got a great show for you today. We've got two amazing guests. Stephanie Alves is going to be with us with Abel Denham. Excited about that.
I've been wanting her to be here, and Wyatt's here today in my office because he has a day off school, and he can't wear regular jeans. He just, they rub him. He doesn't like the tightness of them, so I'm very excited about maybe getting him a pair of these jeans.
Absolutely. And then we have Janet Lintala, who's going to be with us. She's the author of The Unprescription for Autism, talking about looking at our child as a whole child, looking naturalistically, and not just trying to pour medications that might have worse side effects than what we started with to begin with. So we're excited that we're going to have her on.
Which kind of ties into our first story in the news.
Yes, it does.
Good segue.
Yes, good, fabulous segue on your part. Yes, there's splashed all over the news this week a boy who has been hospitalized after a quote-unquote holistic treatment to cure autism. You can read about this. It's all over the internet. 4 years old. He was admitted, and this is being written up in the British Medical Journal, and they've asked parents to please use caution when using holistic treatments, especially in England right now. We reported 2 weeks ago about a guy who was all over the news there saying that he can cure autism by yelling at people.
Well, yeah, that's a totally different thing.
But
these
we
are
all have to have
supplements.
Right, but we all have to have a measure of common sense. But here's a little bit of my problem with this.
Let's tell them the basics.
Yeah.
Okay. A 4-year-old boy was admitted to the hospital after he was given holistic medicine to cure his autism, doctors have warned. Writing in the British Medical Journal, they're appealing to parents to use caution. Doctors Catriona Boyd and Abdul Mudam So they treated the child, who had not been named, after he was admitted to the hospital after suffering vomiting, constipation, and weight loss. After they examined him, They found him to be suffering from hypercalcemia, an abnormally high level of calcium in the blood, as well as high levels of vitamin D. And they went on to say that the mother admitted seeing a naturopath who had given natural supplements, and they wrote that he had been taking 12 different supplements, including vitamin D, calcium magnesium citrate, cod liver oil, camel milk, silver, Epsom salts, and sodium chloride. The doctor said the child responded to the medical treatment and has since recovered, but police are investigating the naturopath.
Okay, but first of all, one of the things that happened was when the mother brought her son, it wasn't until days later that she admitted that she was seeing a naturopath and giving her son these 12 supplements. And in the reporting of this, they said there's 12 supplements that she was giving, but they only list, 6 of them.
Right.
And one of the 6 that they list is camel milk, which is not a supplement.
Right.
Camel milk is
It's
a
a food.
And to put camel milk in the same sentence with silver, anyway, we've asked
And is
Christina
Epsom
Adams.
salt baths a supplement? No, I think not.
I don't
No.
think that's a supplement either.
And-
but we've asked
yeah.
Christina Adams to come. She's going to be with us via Skype tomorrow. That she's going to talk specifically about camel milk and how camel milk is and can be used safely, and how
Right.
it's been used safely for not just
Decades.
decades,
By the
centuries,
Bedouins.
centuries. And she's also, because she's a very biomedical mom,
Right.
And used a lot of biomedical, she's going to give a common sense talk to people about what you do and what you don't do,
Right.
and how to be sensible, because I think it's important to be sensible, but it's also it's important to be sensible in reporting it too, because I think a lot of people looked at this and went, oh, these crazy people
Right.
that are,
Biomedical doctors and naturopaths are all dangerous.
Right. That's the impression that people would walk away and, oh, this child went into the hospital. And I think we've got to start with, if you are doing a biomedical intervention with your child, it's important that if your child is having symptoms and you need to get medical help, whether it has to do with the supplements or not, go get the medical help and be honest about what you're doing. I mean, the fact that the mother didn't report that's not giving the doctors the information, and you put your child's health at risk when you do that. They have some studies, that a 2007 study that said that in the U.S., children with autism, 74% of them were taking alternative medicine. However, that most parents were not disclosing that to their doctors.
So that's important.
That's important. You need to have, first of all, you need to have doctors in your life that you trust enough to tell them what you're doing.
But let me tell you why I think a lot of parents don't do this, and I'm sure that you understand this, because natural treatments are often frowned upon and given no credence.
Yes.
And when you said Christina is a very biomedical mom, I would put myself in that camp.
Yeah.
I did many biomedical treatments with Wyatt. He continues to do cod liver oil. He used to have a calcium citrate drink to calm him down, magnesium calcium citrate. I drink one every night called Calm.
My son takes a vitamin D and a CalMag zinc tab
Wyatt
every
takes
day.
a zinc tab, and he also does all of the oils. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought of what they're called. Not cod liver oil, but the 3
I don't know.
oils. The 3 essential oils.
I don't
Not-
know what those are. I guess I'm not as biomedical.
They're fish oils. No, they're fish
Oh,
oils.
okay.
They combine like 3 of them, I think, in one supplement. Nordic Naturals.
Oh, okay.
So at any rate, Wyatt did the Epsom salt baths for years
We
when he
did
took
those.
baths, and I take Epsom salt baths on occasion.
Yes.
And we worked with Dr. Andrew Levinson, a very respected what would be called a biomedical doctor.
Yeah.
And he did very careful monitoring of Wyatt while he was increasing or adding a supplement.
Absolutely. And we did some biomedical with Jem. We absolutely did. I would not call myself a biomedical mom, but we did do some stuff. And our doctor was Dr. Jeffrey Radoff in Arizona. But, a lot of times you have to find the right doctor for you who will listen to what your concerns are. I think that's important. And a lot of times your doctor is a doctor who's not in the state that you're in.
Right.
But I thought that it was important that when we decided to do some biomedical with Dr. Radoff and he was in another state, He had a license to practice in the state that we were in. I want to be clear about that. But he didn't reside in that state. So he would come once a month.
Right.
Or once every 2 months. But I needed to know that I had a doctor who understood what we were doing. So we shopped around until we found a pediatrician that I could say, here is all, I could hand him, and I did. I handed him this package and I said, here is what we're doing. Here are the studies to show. And if I call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, you know, we're having a reaction to this, I want you to be informed.
Right.
And he was awesome that way. So I think it's because I didn't want to be the person at the emergency room. I'd already taken my son to the emergency room and saw how they deal. And emergency room doctors are like slash and burn doctors. They're like, what are you doing? We have to treat it right now. And I've seen a lot of judgment because they're in a big hurry. And I didn't want to be in that space.
Right.
And I want to encourage people, don't be in that space. If you're going to be doing biomedical, make sure that you have a local doctor who understands. And sometimes our kids will have reactions to things.
And sometimes our kids will have reactions to a mainstream medicine that is prescription.
And anything you do in excess is not good for you. You can drink water and get to the point where you have to be taken to the emergency room.
And I was telling you, and we need to move on here, but last night on the news, how many women take calcium supplements? Okay, so many. And they had a story that the exact same thing was happening to women. This condition of hypercalcemia, where they're finding an abnormally high level of calcium in the blood from supplements. They do not find it when you get the calcium from food.
Right. It's very fine line between what's appropriate and what is too much.
And it's also individualistic.
It's very individual, but it has to be monitored. Okay, moving on because we are running out of time here. Okay, another sad story of another boy on the spectrum hospitalized. This is absolutely devastating. I know you guys have probably seen this. The young boy, 10 years old, Caden Culp. He is special needs. He has not been diagnosed with autism, although his mother has said that, you know, she thinks that there are some things there that perhaps it's something that needs to be looked at. But he has a hearing impairment and he speaks with a lisp. He has been bullied in the past. He was playing with other boys in the neighborhood. They went into a shed, and at some point they lit something on fire, and it appears that one of the boys threw the fuel at Caden, and there is some discussion about whether it was deliberate, whether they lured him into the shed, or whether they were just boys playing with gasoline, and that there was an accident that happened. But Caden is in the hospital. There has been much talk about this, and I feel for this family, and I hope that they get to the bottom of what's happening.
We don't know what happened.
There have been some reports at the boys' school that it was deliberate, and that the parents have heard that. And of course, that sickens me. I can't imagine what it would do to them.
I know.
But Caden is going to need a lot of medical help. He has some pretty intense burns. There are some funding things that are going on for them. There is a GoFundMe page for Caden Culp. There is also a You Caring site that has raised some money for him because he's going to be in the hospital for quite a while. I think that this family could use some support in terms of other people saying, you know, we're with you on this. If somebody wants to donate.
Just sort of gave me an idea here about possibly reaching out to the Grossman Burn Foundation and seeing if we can do something with Dr. Peter Grossman.
There you go.
Works on children like this.
And I think, you know, whether I know the initial statement from law enforcement was that they had interviewed all parts and they really felt that it was an accident. And I hope with all my being that it is.
I do too.
But whether it is or not, everyone involved is going to need some counseling, but most especially this little boy. And so we send our good thoughts out to him and to parents. You know, how often in the last couple of years have we covered stories where neurotypical kids have been playing with kids on the spectrum and something goes awry? I think it's really important to keep an eye on it as a parent.
I do too. Really
important. Okay, and then we have some good news for our last story about a new study having to do with genetics. And sometimes this stuff is a little over my head. I don't know about
Mine
you.
too.
But Ben Gurion University of the Negev, I have no idea where that even is.
I think it's in Israel.
Okay, researchers are a step closer to understanding the genetic basis of autism, which they hope will lead to earlier diagnosis of what is rapidly becoming the most prevalent developmental disorder worldwide, and that comes to us from medicalexpress.com. New study showing genes that appear to be, please read the article, but there is a difference between negative association and positive association. What they have found with this new gene is that they expected it to be the same size of other disorders such as Alzheimer's and schizophrenia, but the autism gene is significantly longer. So it's easier to pick it out and go, okay, this seems to be a gene that goes together with autism, not these other things. And they've had trouble in the past figuring out between those three things, the genes. So this is really good news. But they also have said quite clearly, because there is only a negative association, not a positive, that this is a mutation that has evolved under complex evolutionary forces. So that there is a genetic component to it, but there is absolutely an environmental one as well. Again, another study that says this is not just genetics. It has mutated, and it will help to be able to, more and more reasons for us all to get the genetic testing right there, because you can get the help earlier. I hogged that one. Anything you want to say?
No, I'm glad you hogged it, because you handled it very well.
That's my understanding of it, and we continue on.
Okay.
In any case, we've got a guest here. We want to talk about denim that's sensory friendly. Stephanie Alves is here. I hope that I'm saying her last name right.
Yes, I believe you are.
And
ABL denim.
ABL denim. I think that's Able denim, but we'll
find
see
out
from
what the
her.
acronym is.
Anyway, and then don't forget, later on in the program, Janet Lintala is going to be here to talk about the Unprescription for Autism, the new book.
I'm very interested in
All right,
that.
stick with us. Back in
We'll
just
be
a few
right back.
minutes. We're very excited because we're in the Noah's Ark exhibit, and we're here with Jason Porter. Thank you for taking us on this tour.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So you're going to show me around a little bit and show me some of the secrets of the Noah's Ark exhibit, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Cool, let's go.
Yeah.
So Jason, tell us, this is an amazing space. Why is it so incredible for children?
One of the values of the Skirball Cultural Center is taking care of the earth and one another, and so this idea of repurposing materials that would otherwise be tossed off was a big component to how we design the galleries. It's based on, certainly the story that everyone knows is the one from the Hebrew Bible, the story of Noah. But in our research, we looked at over 200 flood stories from around the world, and many different cultures have flood stories that have similarities, and the similarities that we identified were these three chapters: the storm, some crazy challenge that comes to your life; an ark, a kind of means of survival, a way for a community to come together to survive; and finally the rainbow, which is this kind of symbol of hope, the second chance to make the world anew.
Love it. All right, let's take a look through, and we're going to talk about some of the learning opportunities that are available here.
We really wanted people to kind of discover what they were supposed to do. For example, this elephant has a gong in the center, and there's a little wheel here that you can turn and see what happens. But there's also some hidden things, like there's a little peephole in this polar bear, so it's kind of a moment where you could talk with your kids about what does it mean that polar bear in there only has a small piece of ice to live on it, and you could talk about kind of the environmental issues that might be associated with it.
All right, should we go downstairs?
Yeah, let's check out the storm.
So Jason, what do you call this room?
This is called the Storm Gallery. In one side of the gallery, we have a storm wall, which is all sorts of sounds and sight effects to make the storm come to life. We have this, what we call the load up. It's fairly intuitive. You put animals onto the conveyor belt and you turn the wheel and they get loaded up onto the ark. Except you can't do both at the same time by yourself. It's kind of layered in the doing, the learning that we're really interested in, which is about this notion of working together in order to accomplish something. So, when you first get on the ark, obviously you enter 2 by 2, as the story goes. And so the animals in this first section of the ark, they're not quite sure where they should be. They're a little bit nervous about who to hang out with. The gallery is really organized so that the the animals are still in pairs. So we talk a lot about what are the elements of home that you need to survive. And it's really a nice kind of intro into the whole experience of being in a community, learning to be together with people who may or may not be the same as us. This gallery of Noah's Ark is unique, I think, in terms of the way that it was designed, that it offers a huge variety of experiences in a way that really accommodates people of all stripes and spots. So there are more quiet zones, like we just left in the move-in day, where you can come into this room where you have a lot of large motor things that are happening, including climbing, and we kind of have nicknamed this the arcade. It's kind of the chapter in the story where they're making new families and they're mixing with other animals that they've befriended. Oh, we have to talk about poop.
We can't do a show without talking about poop.
So, the other fact of life on an ark is that everybody poops. So the challenge is to, clean up.
Okay, so we're in the last room, very cool room. What do we call this room?
We call this the Rainbow Gallery. People really get that this is a place of hope. Sometimes there's an art making project that it ends in some sort of inspiration, that people feel like they're inspired to take action in the world and make it a better place.
Thank you so much for showing us everything and telling us about all the wonderful things at the Skirball Center. Welcome back to Autism Live and to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
Hey.
We've got a new addition here to our studio.
We do. We have Stephanie Alves. We were pronouncing your name wrong, Stephanie.
You got it.
Okay. Glad to know the correct pronunciation. Now,
Thrilled
you
to
are
have
the
you.
founder,
Yes.
CEO, and designer of ABL Denim, which is an inclusive design business which is dedicated to providing clothing design solutions for people with disabilities.
That's right.
First of all, tell us a little bit about what inspired you, and then we're going to get into your background.
Okay. I am a clothing designer by career. I started sewing when I was very young and made a career of it. But my youngest brother had heart failure at 6 weeks old. So he had neurological issues and had trouble getting dressed really for all of his childhood,
Right,
of course. When I was about 15, my mother said, why don't you make clothing for kids like your brother? And I said, oh, I want to make fashion first. My stepsister became a wheelchair user about 8 years ago.
Excuse me, I had a sneeze
you.
coming on there.
Due to back surgery
Wow.
gone awry. And she said that she was having trouble getting dressed, and I said, why don't I open up your pants to make it easier?
Yeah.
And she said, that'd be a great idea. So I looked online to see what else was out there, and everything was kind of geriatric.
Right.
And there really wasn't much of that either.
Yeah.
So I learned more about what types of disabilities people had that needed to be addressed and to come up with the clothing solution. So I started a tailoring business first. Basically took people's individual issues and tailored their own clothing to whatever they needed, whether it was adding fabric to make the back higher if they were a wheelchair user because it's more comfortable when your pants are higher.
Right.
Zippers where needed, opening them up. onesies, large size onesies for children with CP who writhe a little bit. And then we started to manufacture.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you started to manufacture.
And we added a couple of styles for people with both wheelchair users and people who are ambulatory. And parents kept asking me, can you make clothing for children with sensory issues? And I said, I really know more about physical disabilities. Tell me more. So they started to tell me more. And I started to do a little bit of research, and I saw that the only clothing out there was really pajama jeans, and there are some clothing lines, but there was no jeans, and everybody wears jeans.
Everybody wears jeans.
Everybody wears jeans.
And I was telling you when you came in that my son rides horses, and he doesn't like wearing jeans. They're tight, they're hard, they're hard to button sometimes.
Right.
And this is just like the perfect thing for him. And interesting how you started with more of the physical disabilities, and then you learned about these sensory issues with a lot of our kids on the spectrum.
Right. I mean, basically, when we design a new product, it's because of it's requested. And when I hear it enough, I say, okay, it's time to do something here. So I spoke to a number of parents, and I asked them all, what do you need? What do you want? What don't you want? And then I started to make a sample. And I found a child with sensory sensitivities, of course, who has ADHD. And because all of our models who do fittings for us, they have to be able to critique the clothing. Well, it doesn't need to exist if it doesn't work. There's plenty of regular clothing out there.
Right.
So
well, let's get to how parents find you. That's really important.
Yes.
Okay, and how individuals find you to order these.
well, we have a website under abldenim.com,
Right.
and it's a store.
Okay.
We have a Facebook page, ABL Denim. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We do some of the disability trade shows. We'll be at IEHP, which is a disability a trade show, basically, on this Saturday in San Bernardino. We do Stephanie's Day here in Los Angeles. We do the Abilities Expo, which is the largest trade show in the United States in 5 or 6 cities now.
I want to talk a little bit because you've got these samples.
I
brought
down
some here to show.
And these
Yeah.
look, and they're laying down. Maybe if you'd hold it up.
Hold it.
So that looks like a regular pair of shorts, denim. I mean, it looks like a pair of shorts that my son has.
They are
soft.
denim. And what I found was that the newest thing in denim is this kind of sweatshirt denim. And you hear about athleisure and people wearing their sports clothes in place of denim sometimes because denim was too hard. So this fabric was a game changer.
Right.
Because it feels as soft as a sweatpant, and yet it is not only is it technically denim so that it can be washed repeatedly as parents need for kids' clothing, and these go in and out and in and out. But the features on it were, of course, all requested by parents. The main thing on this that has worked for children with sensory issues, a lot of them, I occasionally get a return saying, my child, it doesn't work. And but I'd say 9 times out of 10, we've had a lot of success. The waistband is sewn to the outside so that you don't have any stitch line there, because apparently, as I've been told, that around the waist, that's really a bothersome point. There's no metal. Meaning no zippers, no rivets. It looks like it has a zipper, but it doesn't.
Right.
No pockets on the inside. No the tags. We do put a tag sometimes down at the bottom where it can. We don't even
And
have
the
it
inside,
here.
I want to point out, is so soft.
Yeah,
You can
is
see
very, very
this.
So you
super
can see it
soft.
looks
Just
like
soft. I mean, this is just so comfortable. It is literally like wearing pajamas or sweats, but
It
looks
is,
like a very fashionable jean.
Right, and it is, like I say, it's technically denim, so it is a real jean
Right.
fabric, and of course we have this in a longer length.
All right.
And I want to
Wow.
talk about too that you've got this stitching on it so that it looks like it's got the typical pockets,
Right.
but it doesn't. It's got the fly. And in denim, I used to sew, but so this is called a princess seam, I think, right? Where they fold it over and put the seam on the inside. But a lot of times this gets really bulky on jeans, but you guys have it so that it's just detail. It doesn't. This is not bulky at all. It's not going to bind. It's not going to dig in.
This is not even a seam on the side. It's actually called a pin tuck, so it
There
just
we
looks
go.
like a seam.
There we
This
go.
one is a seam because you have to close it up somewhere.
Right.
But we make sure that the thread on the inside is very soft.
Yeah.
In fact, on some
great.
of our our adult genes, we actually put this particular stitch on the outside. So we consider everything. Probably the toughest point for our child model was where this joined here. So we had to make sure that the depth of it was low enough not to push,
Right.
because everything really bothered her. So we did put pockets on the outside because kids still want
Need
to
pockets.
wear. They need
Yes.
pockets, and they
Yeah.
want it to look like a regular
Right.
jean.
Yeah.
But it is all elastic, as parents asked for.
Right. So once again, and I'm going to be ordering these for Wyatt, definitely. So once again, tell us how parents and individuals can reach you.
Okay. They can go to our website, abldenim.com. If they have questions, and of course we are always happy to talk to people to discuss what the issues are, to see what the product, if the product's going to work for them, or something else, some other product,
Right.
depending on their needs. And that is, they can call us at 310-871-8145, but of course through the website too.
And you have a sort of a catalog on the website that they can look at, right?
Yeah, it's even clearer than this, of course, because
Okay,
it's all
yeah.
bigger
We have this here in the
pictures.
studio.
But there are
And really,
many,
they look
many
great.
styles to
And
choose
they look just
from.
great.
They're beautiful jeans, and they're not very expensive.
Right.
I mean, they're not any more expensive. In fact, they're cheaper than a lot of jeans that you would find going into clothing stores that are sort of the hip clothing stores. You know, it might be slightly more than if you were going to buy a discount jean at someplace like Walmart, but for most of our kids, that's not going to work.
Right.
And the fact that
But they're
these
available
work
at
on a-
Walmart, I saw.
Well, there is one
Online.
adult jean
Okay,
online at
Okay.
Walmart.
You're in Walmart. You
We
go,
have
girl.
one, yeah, we made one that so people could afford it who at any economic level. They're out of stock right now, but they'll be restocked soon.
Well, a great idea. Once again, necessity is the mother of invention, and you were inspired by your own family story.
That's right.
And you know, really, we admire what you've done here. You're really, it's entrepreneurial, and it's a great solution for so many people with disabilities and so many of our kids with autism. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with Janet Lintala, the author of The Unprescription for Autism. Stick with us. I'm shopping.
I am Alexis Weinman at the Future Horizons Super Conference in Dallas, Texas. It helped me in a way because it was a format that I was not used to. Like, I had never curled my hair before. I've never worn heels. I didn't know what foundation was. And it was just, it was a very, like, it helped me more in a business sense. Like, I know how to present myself in front of people now. That's something my mom drilled into my head. I have trouble sometimes with it. Like, you introduced yourself to me downstairs, and so I immediately and I've heard of you before, so I was like, I know this person, I can make eye contact with this person. And if I'm talking to someone I don't know, or if I'm listening to someone give a speech, most of the time my head will be down. I don't look at people in the eye, but if it's someone I know I need to make eye contact with, I make eye contact. But my mom growing up, she, especially after the diagnosis, she would always grab my hand if I was looking everywhere else but her, and she'd say, look me in the eye. And so she wouldn't let go of my hand until I looked her in the eye. I do feel like I have to do play part because, sometimes there'll be jokes I don't understand, but I'll laugh at anyway. There will be situations that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm going to have to play along anyway. And I think I just found out, I'm just a tremendously amazing liar. I can pretend like I'm uncomfortable with something when in actuality I am screaming inside, or I know the moment I get back to my dorm room I'm going to start screaming or having a meltdown or something like that. But I also know that there is a time and a place because there isn't any safe rooms available in neurotypical society. We have to make our own. And on a college campus, there's not many places you can go and scream without attracting attention. The way I explain it to people is, people's brains are like hamster wheels. Eventually, the hamster's got to take a break. Autistic brains aren't like that. They just keep going and going and going. So we can't stop thinking about things. That's why a lot of kids with autism have sleep problems, because they can't fall asleep because they have too much on their brain. They can't sleep because they're thinking too much. And I think just the walking in circles, there's no thought to a circle. Like, it's just, like, so I'll just plug in my earphones so I can't hear anything else except whatever white noise I'm listening to, and I'll just walk in a circle. I think it's just like we are just as prevalent as men with autism. There might not be as many as there are boys, but we are still part of this movement. We're still part of this community, and we just got to remind people that, hey, you know, we're here too. You know, don't forget about us. One thing I've learned is that, first off, I'm not the only person who is speaking from their own perspective. Like, I feel like I go to some of these conferences and it's a bunch of doctors and a bunch of parents who want to talk and get to know what autism is about, but there's not a lot of people on the spectrum talking about it. And so I come to these and I see Temple Grandin, who's one of the biggest faces in the autism community, actually get up and talk about what helped her and what we need to do in order to get our kids part of society and not in our parents' basements. And so it's just kind of reaffirming, like, I'm not the only one. Thank you. Because I'd go to these and I would be the only one. I'd be next to a bunch of doctors and talking about worlds I have not even seen before, let alone pronounce. And I'm just sitting here like, I did a pageant once. So it's good to know, like, I'm speaking from a perspective of not necessarily overcoming, but learning to live with this, because I feel like not a lot of people come out and say what it's like to live on the autism spectrum. A lot of people talk about the struggles and everything like that, but they don't talk about, you know, what they've done to make their lives better while living on the spectrum.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For this month, I figured we're going to do a super special portrait that is in the theme of October, which means spooky eyes that follow you as you walk around. In this activity, you and your child are going to work on emotions and sociodramatic play. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are a camera, a ping pong ball, X-Acto blade, tape, and a marker. And if your kids are up to it, props and costumes. Now let's take some photos. It's a great time to work on emotions and socio-dramatic play. Let's get our props.
See all the colors in the sky tonight. It's time to let the sunshine hide.
Once you've finished your photo shoot with your child, select one of the photos and print it out on a large piece of paper. Now that you've selected your photo, you're going to take an X-Acto blade and just cut out the eyes from it. This part of the activity is definitely only for the adults. Now that you've finished cutting out the eyes, what we're going to do next is take a ping pong ball and cut it in half. You'll see why in just a moment. So with the ping pong balls, we're going to create the illusion of the following eyes. So what you're going to do is take a marker and you're going to make a dot in the very, very center. You're going to want to make it like the same size of what the iris was in the photo. Now that the ping pong balls are done, I'm just going to tape them to the back of the photograph. So does it look like she's following you? Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity for Smarty. Until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Parent to parent, sometimes our kids will engage in certain behaviors that really seem random to us. We have no idea why they're doing it. It's really important to remember that all behaviors happen for a reason. And in fact, challenging behaviors happen for 4 reasons more often than any other reasons. The 4 reasons are attention. A lot of times our kids do things to get attention, and remember, negative attention counts. Another reason why our kids do things is to escape someone or something. A third thing is to gain access to someone or something. And the 4th reason is because it just feels good. So the next time your child is engaging in a behavior that seems random or strange or totally from outer space, stop and ask yourself which one of these 4 things might be causing it. Is it attention, Might it be to escape something? Is it to gain access to someone or something? Or is it that it just feels good? Knowing why the behavior happens helps us to deal with it. What is this ABA treatment I keep hearing everyone talk about?
So we're going to do down dog next. So with down dog, there are several different ways that you can do it, and I want to show you first and then help you with yours so that we can work on what feels good for you, okay? All right, because there's no right way to do it. It's more about what your body likes, all right? So for me, what I'm going to do is start off with my hands at the top of my mat, my headlights. My fingers are aiming towards the top of my mat, and then I'm going to tuck my toes, and then my head is also going to drop, and I'm going to look between my toes. Okay. And my body should be, or hopefully, like an A shape.
Or V.
Or V, yes.
Upside down V.
Yep. And so if your quads are tight or your hamstrings are tight, you might need to bend your knees a little bit.
Then it's a U.
Or if your shoulders are a little strained or a little tight, remember to push in through your feet, but also sometimes what feels really good is going down on your forearms, like this. You can actually start out this way instead, it's a little easier. So your forearms rest on the floor, you still tuck your toes, and then you're still looking between your toes, but rather than being on your hands then, your weight's along your hands and your forearms. Okay? All right. So, now it's your turn. Okay. So, yep. You're gonna do on your hands? Okay, yep. So your fingers are facing the front of the mat. Or are you doing forearms? Forearms? Okay, there we go. Wow, you're very bendy. Very nice. And your gaze is right here between your toes. Excellent. Very nice, Jem. Wow. Awesome. Feet are a nice distance apart. How does that feel?
Okay.
Awesome. You want to come down? Excellent. Good.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy and I are really thrilled right now because joining us on the phone and via Skype is Dr. Janet Lintala. She is the author of the new book that's out that everybody's talking about, The Unprescription for Autism. Dr. Lintala, we're thrilled. Nancy and I were just reading your bio, and
We were tired after reading.
Yeah, we absolutely. We need to take a nap.
Yeah, so you're a slacker,
yes,
Dr. Lintala.
Because you have an amazing background, and we're going to let you talk about that a little bit, but you're the founder of Autism Health. It's a low-cost center servicing patients from 13 states. You've been appointed by the governor of West Virginia, the State Rehabilitation Council, where you are the secretary. Endless on the advisory panel of the Boy Scouts of America, National Disability Awareness Council, adjunct faculty, the National University of Health Sciences, and on, and you're a national speaker. But we want to talk to you a little bit about this book that you've got out, The Unprescription for Autism. And we also want to say out the gate, because we always, our calling card is that Nancy and I are just a couple of autism moms sitting around talking. Well, welcome to our crew, because she is also an autism mom too. And we'll allow you to talk a little bit about that. But let's jump right into the book. What is this book about?
This book is about an area I'm just dying to share with people, and it's about the health challenges that are specific to the autism spectrum. Usually we hear so much, especially if we have a new diagnosis, oh, we need to get into wonderful therapies, speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA, they're all good. But when we go to the doctor, we're handed pills and medications for some symptoms that are actually signs of underlying health issues that I think are poorly misunderstood. And I'm not anti-prescription, but there are some great non-prescription strategies we can use to support vibrant health on the autism spectrum, and that's what my book is all about.
Absolutely thrilling. And for people who are watching, I know a lot of the questions that come up are, is there science behind this? Is this evidence-based? So talk a little bit about that, because there is science behind it, correct?
Yes, and actually the research has been exploding the last 20 to 30 years, and a lot of this is evidence-based. So 10 years ago when I was talking about gut issues on the autism spectrum or enzymes or special diets, people were like, what? You're crazy, we've never heard of that. And now it's really awesome. I can go to PubMed and pull up peer-reviewed journals that have research on all of these issues. And in the back of the book, in the endnotes, I cite about 300 scientific studies from peer-reviewed journals.
And you really feel like prescription drugs are really the last thing we should reach for, that we should look at natural supplements, we should look at diet, and really to treat some of the major issues that some of our kids are struggling with. Can you talk about some of those issues besides, you mentioned gut issues, but you're also talking about, let's get into some of the anxiety and sleep patterns and some of those things.
Sure. Research is showing that folks on the spectrum, children and adults, are more prone to anxiety, depression, and mood disorders. They're more prone to things like inflammation and oxidative stress. They have sensory issues. These things cause dramatic disturbances in their behavior. They can be irritable or even aggressive. The GI issues can keep them from falling asleep all night. And then they're tired, and then we need a stimulant to help them sit up and pay attention in class or in therapy. It's kind of a scary merry-go-round that they get on, because when you leave those health issues unaddressed and you use medications to treat the symptoms, it makes some of those health issues worse, and we have to increase the doses of the medications. And I want to be fair to medications. They're a great tool to have in the toolbox. I didn't write the anti-prescription, okay? But their side effects can enhance and make worse the health issues of the spectrum. So, therapies I include in that toolbox. It's not all about supplements. There are some diets that are helpful. And even the American Academy of Pediatrics says medications shouldn't be the primary focus, when a child first comes in, because they don't treat the core deficits of autism. And so I just want to get back to that statement, and I say let's dig into the research. If research shows they need some enzymes or some probiotics or certain nutrients, let's try that first. And then a lot of things tend to shake out of the picture. When properly supported, those health issues, those children and adults can begin sleeping on their own, having regular bowel movements. They feel better, so their mood and their aggression settles down. Their cognition is brighter, and they can pay attention in therapy or in class or in a social situation. And then we get a true picture of what's left, and that's when, hey, it might be appropriate to come in with some medication for anxiety or depression.
Right. Doctor, you clearly have a very, your background, is one that people know and can trust you if they were to be bringing their child to you. How do parents find the right kind of doctor that would be really adept at kind of doing these kinds of treatments?
Well, and I'm not knocking conventional doctors.
We understand that.
We need those. But if I'm allowed to mention specific conferences or training or anything like that.
Yes.
Go for it.
I love the doctors that are coming out of the MAPS conferences, and that stands for Medical Academy of Pediatric Special Needs. And they are running wonderful conferences with presentations that they prefer to be science-based or evidence-based, big on the science, which I love, and it's open to medical doctors and osteopaths, chiropractors, naturopaths. It's open to dietitians and therapists, and they're really opening their doors and welcoming everyone and saying, hey, there's a lot of great science these days, and we want to share that with you. And so they run a clinician directory, and their website is, I believe, medmaps.org. And you can go state by state and see if there's a physician in your state or your city that can help you.
No, because I think it's important for parents to go to someone they can trust and know that they're going to be monitoring their children when they take on any of these supplements or any of these treatments.
Yes, and these physicians should be using lab tests and really documenting and being very conservative and careful. I like to tell people I'm an autism mom, and I'm not going to give anything to your child that I wouldn't give to mine. I can't speak for all of those doctors, but when I go to the conferences, the emphasis on science and lab testing is very heavy, and they caution us about, not overdoing things. As an autism parent, I know we get on the internet late at night and we're always, getting into chat rooms or Googling things. And I'm finding that parents try a lot of things on their children that are a little hair-raising, to be honest, at times. And in the book, I kind of caution them against endlessly treating yeast. We feel the need for a lab test to see if it really is yeast. People say, I know my child has yeast because he has dark circles under his eyes. Well, that could be a sign of allergies or just fatigue. And so I love it that the science-based treatments and suggestions are coming forth, and that the research is really rocking and rolling. It's worldwide. There's a lot of explosion in that research in autism.
It's an exciting time. In fact, we'd like to show, you sent us a video, we'd like to show a short video about your book, and we want to point out that the book can be purchased on Amazon and most major booksellers. So we're going to take a look at this video, and then we're going to talk some more with Dr. Lintala. Welcome back. Really wonderful. We're talking with Dr. Janet Lintala, and she is the author, as you just saw, of the book, The Unprescription for Autism. We mentioned to her during a break that earlier in the show, we had a question that came in for one of the other doctors that we have on the show, but she's here and she's willing to take the question. The question, they wrote in and said, sorry for a graphic question, but have you heard of kids pooping out worms? Can you ask the doctor? It happened trying kombucha, which I thought is healthy live probiotics, and they said thank you. And so Dr. Lintala, you said that you had some insight on that.
Well, I do, and I love fermented cultured drinks like kombucha. And anytime you introduce live cultures, whether it's through just a probiotic or a probiotic drink, there can be a crowding out effect, and we often see an increase in gas or the odor of gas, and there can be what some people call a die-off, where yeast or opportunistic bacteria are crowded out. Now, I do want to say specifically about pooping out worms that I have had several patients bring me samples, in little baggies of things that they thought were worms that their kids pooped out. And I'm glad this particular caller was using something gentle and natural like kombucha, but people were trying these parasite treatments off the internet. And it turns out when we would send off these samples to our lab and ask them to specially look at them under the microscope and determine what they are, that it was actually long strips of intestinal mucosa off of the intestines, and they looked exactly like worms. They looked like parasites. And some people, especially the adults that are getting on and treating themselves, took that as a sign that they were dumping off parasites, and their home parasite treatment must have worked, and they would redouble their efforts and take more of these caustic, even natural supplements can be very harsh. And so this particular caller, like I say, was using something very safe, and perhaps, maybe that was some parasitic worms that didn't like the new bacteria and got crowded out. But I just want to caution against treating yourself with things off the internet, that sometimes these worms are actually long strips of mucosa. We've had it happen several times.
Okay, so should this person then go and see their normal pediatrician then to have those looked at? Or what would you recommend at this point?
I would recommend a comprehensive diagnostic stool test at this point, a comprehensive one where they try to approach it in several ways. They can culture it and see what grows out. Typically, parasites are not something that we grow out, so that portion of the test would be under the microscope looking for parasites or eggs. Parasites tend to be cyclical, so typically a stool sample for a parasite test is going to be collected over 3 days to kind of catch that parasite cycle where they shed on certain days but not on other days. And some pediatricians will know how to do that and some won't, but these MAPS doctors certainly will be well versed in how to collect a stool sample and analyze it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that. Unfortunately, though, we're out of time. We wanted to thank you. We got to have you back on again and talk about
Definitely.
being an autism mom. But we want to encourage people to check out the book, The Unprescription for Autism. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at most major booksellers. And Dr. Lentella, we really want to thank you for putting this information out there so that we can begin to look at treating autism medically in an entirely new light.
Thank you for having me today.
Great to have you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and I want to take just a second to say that on tomorrow's show, we are welcoming back Dr. Bonnie Yates, special education attorney Bonnie Yates. Last week, she gave the best advice I have ever heard anywhere in terms of if your child is being bullied at school.
Okay.
Check that out. It's on our Facebook right now.
Right.
She's going to be answering. We've already got questions for tomorrow, but guys, send in questions because she's going to be on every week if you need a legal perspective on something.
Yeah, she was one of the top advocates, attorneys in Southern California.
Some good stuff.
And she
she's
really
an
knows
autism
her
mom.
stuff.
She knows it. And we're also going to have with us, as I said before, Christina Adams. She's going to, autism mom.
Talk about this controversy.
Camel milk. And
with natural supplements, which is
there
very
you go.
timely right
Very
now
timely.
with what we've been talking about today.
In any case, we're out of time, but I thank you for being here and thank both of our wonderful guests and thank Dr.
Love being
Doreen
here with you.
Grant-Pichet and thanks Samantha for doing such a good job on the board. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me.
And
Bye-bye.
tell us what you want us to be for Halloween.
That's right.
Bye-bye for
Bye.
now.